best hand doesn't really matter. Okay, very next hand, open threes, and again you can see the pop-up, it's funny. He squeezes to 50, which is on the larger side but not super big, and I think he is the kind of passive guy that doesn't have a lot of air there. I don't think I can call for set value with the on life tilt guy behind. The life tilt guy could have flatted like ace, king, jacks, queens on the button, especially with the guy who was there, small blind fish. So I think threes were full there. Alright, already next hand. King queen suited under the gun, obviously raise, big blind, now on a half stack calls, we flop, awesome, nut gut shot, second nut flush draw overs, king is at least value bettable, queen not so much. I mean c-bet, just kind of standard size. With his stack size I can go like 20-60 jam, very comfortably get stacks in if I make a hand. I guess we could go a little bit smaller, but on this flop there's not too many hands that fold to a big bet but call a small one. So turn comes a 9, he checks to me, and on the flop I was very happy with my hand, obviously planning to bet almost any turn card, but this card is actually super bad for me. If he has a better hand, an 8, a 9, a jack, pocket 10s, I guess, he's not folding the turn, so there's no merit in bluffing on the turn. Where ace high, if he has ace high, it's going to be ace 10 or ace high flush draw. These hands probably don't fold the turn. I mean, ace 10 might, but where ace queen, he might fold in the turn, but the range of hands I'm trying to bluff out is very, very tiny. And then value betting the turn, there could be some worse hands that call me, like, I don't know, king 10, I guess. I beat that. But overall, I can't bluff out anything. I can't value bet against anything. So I think betting the turn makes no sense, especially when there's the danger of getting raised. If he turned a full house or trips, he could just check raise, and I'd be in a bad spot. So I just check it back. Unfortunate turn card. So river's a 4, completing nothing. And if he bets you, I mean, you just have to fold. Now he checks. The question is, do we bluff the river? We could bluff out a hand like ace 10, a hand like nut flush draw, a hand like ace queen, a hand like maybe an 8. If he has 8-7, he might fold the river, I don't know. But I think a player like him who's a bit weaker, loose passive-ish side, would even check the river with a hand as strong as ace jack, and if he has a pair of 8s, he might not fold it, because, I mean, we check the turn, so what can we have? So I don't think bluffing the river makes much sense. I just decided to check it back. And he shows up with queen jack, excuse me. So we made a good check down on the turn of the river there. Alright. So the fish limps, no-toe ISO raises on the button. I don't think calling with the ace-8 is a good option. It's a bit too loose to call 4 big blinds with ace-8 offsuit there. Re-raising no-toe makes a lot of sense because you should be isolating the fish with a wide range. But I think no-toe in particular is not very good at adjusting to a situation like that. Like, if I was on the button in no-toe's position, I would be raising a lot of hands, 50%, 6% range. And you could 3-bet me there with ace-8 preferably, I think. But no-toe I don't think does that, so I don't want to 3-bet him light there. So what happened that hand? Flop got bet and river got bet, and the fish just folded. He probably had some sort of gut shot, jack 10, queen jack on the flop. No-toe probably had the ace or bluffed the river. Okay, 5 deuce here against the fish. I'd limp or min raise or make it 3x against on life tilt. I don't think I can play that hand profitably. So this one's kind of interesting. I mean, obviously this is usually a fold on the button, but we have the fish in the big blind, so I'm trying to play as many hands as possible. And queen deuce off, well, it's a pretty crappy hand, but I think if we get into a heads up pot with the fish, that's going to be a good spot to be in. So just make it 2.5. And on life tilt re-raises, fold, bad steal. So again here, kind of loose open in the cutoff, 10-9 suited. I do raise like as default. Queen Jack off I raise as default, but 10-9 off is a little bit loose. But again, we have the fish in the small blind, so it's pretty standard. Pick it up. La la la, not much happening. Min raise from Poker Felts. So he hasn't been playing too many hands up to this point, even though he's the biggest table fish. At least the strike player is not very good either. And now he's min raising the button, which I don't know what his range looks like here. Probably strongish. And the blind just snap fold. Okay, so this hand is going to be a little bit interesting. So Nota opens the button to 2.5, and versus a very competent opponent like on live tilt, if he opened the button here, I'd fold my ace-5 off. But I think against Noto, who's not the best player in the world, just calling $6 into 16, good pot odds, etc., I think this is a profitable call. So I see a flop pretty good for ace-5 offsuit, 4 outs to the 3, which are almost not outs unless he has 5-6. And I have the overcard ace, which is usually good. So it's either a check call or a check raise, whichever you prefer. I don't think there's a clear cut best play here, but I decided to go for the check raise. I think he's the type of player that would bet fold a hand like ace jack or ace queen here, which is very good for me. And I also think he's a player that will not play back here if I check raise. Like if I check raise on live tilt, for instance, might be 3-betting the flop as a bluff, but I don't think this Noto guy does it. So that makes check raising a lot more attractive. Sizing wise, you just don't make it so small that he calls, don't make it so big that you risk a lot. I think his sizing is pretty good. Also, if he just calls here, if I had a set, I could get stacks in comfortably on the turn and river, so I don't need to go like pot-sized raise here. That would be too big. Excuse me. So what happens is he keeps timing down a lot. I don't know, he's probably playing too many tables. So he times and calls. What does that mean? Probably if he's multi-tabling, playing more than 4 tables, and that caused him to time down, I don't think he has a very strong hand here. Usually when you're multi-tabling and you see you flop the set somewhere, all your attention is on that table. At least that's the way it's for me. So if he had a set here, I think he would have acted a little bit quicker. Same thing for like aces, kings, queens. If he had those, he might have been paying more attention to this table. So I think his range in this spot, obviously he could still have a set and kings and aces, whatever, but I think he often has an 8, a 4, straight draw. I beat all the straight draws. I have a lot of equity against a 4. I have okay equity against an 8, and I think even if I bet the turn and he calls, I could be bluffing profitably on some rivers. So I decided to bet the turn again. Sizing, same thing, no need to make it like $95 here. Just, I guess it's not particularly small, but enough to get the job done. So luckily he did not turn some sort of flush draw with his 4 to call again, so he just snap folded, which is good. So again, interesting. A lot of interesting hands coming up here. No tone makes it 2.5 on the cutoff, and typically against most people I'd 3-bet this and then jam it over a 4-bet. Because 1, I don't want to call from the small blind, and 2, because I think they're going to be 4-bet bluffing enough that jamming is not a big mistake, if a mistake. But against Noto, who is not the best player, as I already said, and who's not going to be 4-bet bluffing, so if I 3-bet and he 4-bets, I'm going to have to fold, which is not something I want to do with a hand that I could have called preferably in the first place. So I think calling here is the best option by far. And also, if live tilt squeezes behind, I'm not going to be folding. I'm going to be back raising him, probably all in, maybe smaller. I think live tilt will squeeze with a decent range here, 9, 10, 11%, and 9's just too good to fold there. So heads up, flops, 3 wheel cards, always interesting flops. Interesting flop. Opponents play differently on this type of texture. There's a lot of people that don't see bet this board ever. Like, they check back ace high, they check back king jack, they only bet sets and over pairs. You want to know these types of guys. And then there's people who just still see bet a lot of hands. So he checks back. So when I'm obviously almost 100% sure my hand is good, unless he has some random 3 like ace 3 that did not see bet, I'm always ahead here. 4-3 C bets. I mean, there's just about no way I'm beat. So I just need to value bet it. What worse hands do I expect to get called by? I think if he calls me on the turn, it's going to be ace highs most of the time. And yeah, basically the bet size I'm going to choose here to get the most value is just to bet pot size and hope he calls down with ace high for 2 streets. I basically rep either like overcard bluff or a pocket pair hand that I do have, and so I just want to make it a big bet size that his ace highs either pay off a lot or, I mean, just fold the times I'm bluffing. I think this bet size is good when I have strong hands and decent semi-bluffing hands in my range. He just folds, which is whatever. 8-7, certainly opening that, and just picking up the blinds. So what I'm noticing here is that this PokerIdol guy, who is the table fish, still has been folding a lot. I mean, I think I had 3 buttons, he folded 3 times or something. There he folds again.